Doritos are one of the most popular snacks in America, with billions in annual sales, which means you can find them in grocery stores, convenience marts, and here on the campus of Bucknell University. While most students here will grab a bag to eat, a small group has been looking at the tortilla chip in a much different way. These engineering students are in Professor Margot Vigiant's interdisciplinary senior design class. The year-long course is the capstone of their studies and matches them with a local, national, or multinational company that has a question and is looking for help with an answer. In this case, an environmental, electrical, and two mechanical or mechie engineering students have teamed up with PepsiCo, the parent company of Frito-Lay, which makes Doritos, to help them come up with a more sustainable way to produce the chips.
We're focusing on water scarcity and water pollution via the pericarp. So we're just trying to figure out how to decrease the amount of water used in the overall corn washing process that PepsiCo uses to clean their corn and then make their corn products such as tortilla chips and Doritos. And I have some experience with that. We've been working on reducing water, and we've been doing that through using different prototypes and using different mediums aside from water to clean the corn. And we have two prototypes right now, and we're on the second iteration of one and the first or second iteration of another. And we'll soon be combining those prototypes together.
Vigiant says the preliminary data on their prototypes suggests their ideas have technical traction, but they won't know for sure until they build some small-scale models. Through this whole process, she's more like a coach or mentor for the students who are really driving the design. They also meet every week over Zoom with chemical engineers from PepsiCo. One of the many interesting things about this course is that you do get groups made up of the different disciplines of engineering, but there also are times when a question from a corporation is geared more toward one. For instance, a problem may be best handled only by electrical engineering students. There also are cases when they even move outside of engineering to involve students from the Freeman College of Management or other majors. What they've found, especially with this particular question, is that the mix gives them fresh ideas.
I try to ask the right questions, and I try to, so I do have a thought process. I have my ideas, but part of the strength of this is it being multidisciplinary. I'm a chemical engineer. The mentors we are working with at the company are also chemical engineers. I think a lot like them. They and I had similar ideas of how this would be changed. None of the students on the team are chemical engineers. They've gone in a completely different direction. And I think that that's great. It means they have access to a solution that, the people who are used to thinking about this wouldn't get to. And so I've tried to ask reasonable questions, like, let's make sure this is safe and this is, proceeding according to regulations and good practice guidelines, but I have worked hard to not impose my will on them. So it's a little bit like parenting.
For the students, it's a chance to move outside of their specific course of study and to not only see how the other engineering disciplines work and are taught, but other majors as well. This not only helps them with their present endeavors, but can often help them frame their future a bit.
I have always had an open mindset in terms of not just being an electrical engineer. During this whole process, I've been kind of acting as just like a general engineer. It's a little hard to kind of work with water and corn and kind of self-assert yourself as an electrical engineer, because what does that have to do with electricity, right? So there's a few parts where I've kind of just been working outside and just doing general stuff in terms of creating ideas and all of that.
Tyler and the other students in the course find out about the various question options in the spring or summer and usually have between 30 and 35 sponsored projects to choose from. Bucknell has been working on getting PepsiCo as a partner for some time and was finally able to work it out over the summer. What really helps is to have Bucknell's very strong alumni network. In PepsiCo's case, the parent of a current student is the company's Director of Human Resources, and the current Senior Vice President of Service and Distribution Product Supply is a chemical engineering graduate from Bucknell.
Yes, so essentially at the very beginning phases, I'm the initial connection point with Bucknell essentially, and then the faculty are brought in immediately and any of the staff members, and we have a discussion with the company to make sure that the scope is appropriate for a student project. As you interviewed Margot, to making sure that it's for a year-long project, that it's not too large of a project that the students couldn't accomplish in an academic year, but yet not too refined, not too small of a scope either, to make sure it's just right. So there's a lot of conversations that take place to make sure that happens.
Cohen is the university's Director of Engineering Corporate Relations, and his primary responsibility is to help strengthen and grow their partnerships. And he says recruitment is the #1 reason that partners like PepsiCo engage, to develop a pipeline for interns and future employees.
I think we say, why Bucknell? And I think it comes down to it's the engineering and a liberal arts context. So Bucknell students they're technically adept, they're technically capable, but then beyond that, they're good communicators. They think more broadly outside of just the technical scope, which is what a lot of companies are looking for. That well-rounded student, that's who they want to recruit into their company.
In addition to PepsiCo, they're currently working with Keurig, Dr. Pepper, Procter & Gamble, JLG, and Geisinger. They've already started to recruit partners for the summer and fall, and it's usually a several-month process before they settle on a project. For PepsiCo, the partnership with Bucknell addressed one of the aspects of its three-pronged PepsiCo Positive initiative, to be net neutral from a water perspective.
As we started to partner with Bucknell and really think about where could we leverage some expertise or just get some outside of the box thinking, one of the areas that we wanted to focus on was water reduction. And so one of the areas that we use water in as our process is around the manufacturing of our Doritos. And so what we challenged this team is can you look at our processes and help us identify ways in which we could reduce the amount of water that we use that would help us in totality reduce our water footprint as an organization. And so I think that's where there was a lot of interest from the students on the ability to see something that they know and see every day with the Doritos, and being able to know that a solution that they came up with wouldn't only work for one plant, but it works across all of our plants across the U.S. And so the impact that they could have would be significant if they were able to develop and come up with an idea that would benefit us.
So have you been impressed by what you've seen and heard so far?
Yes, and so I'll tell you, we have our team, so our sustainability team, that are engineers as well as our research and development team. They're meeting with the students every week, and I have an opportunity to meet and connect them with those teams, and I would tell you they're thoroughly impressed with the students. The students are engaging, they're inquisitive, and frankly, I think this is just where I think there's just a benefit of having these students that aren't in our day-to-day business, asking questions, being inquisitive. It gets us to step back and think about the business a little bit differently.
The Bucknell students also came up with other ideas that didn't even have to do with the water project. The company is vetting those to see if they'll end up being long-term solutions. Bucknell students will showcase their partnership projects at the end of the semester and then present their final report to their professors and sponsors.
Why do we want to re-examine it? Well, when this process came into being a long time ago, there wasn't as much focus on sustainability. And so now, re-examining through that lens, we're trying to reboot something that has decades of practice behind it. And so coming up with something that seems to work even just a little bit to overturn such a weight of history, I think is pretty cool.